If you had told me at the beginning of this year that quite possibly the best film of the entire year would be an Andy Samberg direct-to-Hulu movie, I wouldn't have believed you, but I wouldn't have believed a lot of the stuff you told me were going to happen in 2020. So why start doubting things now? Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
I'm Michelle.
And this is our post-Geekout reaction for Palm Springs. I almost said Portlandia for some reason, which is a weird sketch comedy show on IFC. I don't know why I mixed those up.
You don't want to go to Portland right now, though.
No. I feel like every single episode of the Post Geekout reaction that we've done this entire year has just dated it further. Yeah, this is really just the vlog of us talking about what's going on in the world, and then we vaguely talk about a movie that we saw.
Honestly, pretty much everyone else is like that,
yeah.
So.
This film, I kept hearing really good stuff about, and I knew it was from the Lonely Island guys, and the last movie they did that I saw was Brigsby Bear, which was one of those films that just absolutely surprised me. Like, I looked at Brigsby Bear and was like, alright, this looks like some charming indie thing, and then you watch it and holy crap, it's one of the most original ideas for a film I've ever seen in my life, and that thing was great. Kind of what happened here.
I did not hear anything about this movie, so I went in completely blind.
All I heard was it was good. That's all I had heard. I knew nothing about the person. And this thing starts out with Andy Samberg's character. He is waking up in bed. His girlfriend is there, and it's clear that he's done. Mm-hmm. He doesn't care. He's just kind of like he's in that point where he's like, yeah, I don't like being in this relationship, but we're still in this relationship. And he makes this comment about, would you kill me? And then he's like, stop joking around. And for some reason in my head, I thought, are they like hitmen? Is that because, like, it looks like they're at a wedding? Because, I mean, the next shot is them going up to a wedding.
Yeah.
And I was like, is that like what the twist is? Is that they're hitmen attending a wedding or something? And then as it goes on, Andy Samberg, you know, he looks like a goof, but he's going around and he's being super charismatic, super charming. He's saying all the right things this way. And I kept looking at it like
he's like the charming douchebag.
Yeah, but like he goes up and he makes the toast at this person's wedding and like it's a jaw dropper and everybody's like, oh my goodness. And he seems so out of place making a speech like that in the way that he's behaving that I thought to myself, okay, it's going to like appear that it's going to then like flashback and then show us what actually happened. He was like drunk and that's what was going on in his head or something. It's like, no, he actually just made that really nice speech. And then he goes out there, he meets this girl and he goes out and they're about to have sex out there.
Yeah, it was the sister's bride.
Yeah,
the bride's sister, I meant.
Yes, the maid of honor as well.
Yes.
So she's both those things at once. But they go out and they're about to have sex out there in this desert. And then some guy shoots Andy Samberg's character with an arrow, and then all of a sudden my thing about them being hitmen just came right back around. I was like, oh my goodness, I was right. I called it. This is some other assassin trying to take this guy out, and I was going to drag this girl into it. That's kind of clever. That's kind of a new thing. But then, like, after he gets shot with some arrows, he starts crawling towards this cave. And inside the cave, there's this glowing light. And the woman starts following him, asking him if he's okay. And he's shouting, no, go back. Do not follow me in here. Don't come any closer. And then the light from the cave just engulfs him. And then he wakes up again, exactly where he was the day before. And
like all back at the beginning of the day.
Back at the beginning of the movie. And it's like, oh, this is a Groundhog's Day thing. And then he goes through the exact same thing, lives the exact same portion.
And now you understand why he is the way he is.
Why he's like, whatever, I don't care.
Like, there was, like, before the reveal, there was, like, he was talking to his friend, it's like, good day, huh? It's like, same as yesterday, today, tomorrow. And it's like, honestly, after being in quarantine, it feels a lot like that.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Put a pin in that. Put a pin in that. Because we are going to come back to that. But then the woman who followed him, she comes running out as well, and she's going, what the hell just happened? What's going on here?
She's stuck in the time loop now.
That's what it is. It's Groundhog's Day, except the twist is, there's multiple people all trapped within the Groundhog's Day. And man, just when you think that people have done at the Groundhog's Day thing as many times as they can, these guys came in here with a great twist on it. And this actually creates a brilliant dynamic. Because you now have the person who's new to the time loop, Which is, when you go with the Groundhog's Day formula, it's what Bill Murray was at the beginning of that film. But then you've got the other person who has already lived decades. Like, he never says how many times he's done this, but he's like, oh, it's been thousands. It's been thousands and thousands and thousands of days. And he has already been doing this for decades now. And that's just what it is that you've got that brilliant dynamic of the new person who has no idea what's going on, but then you've also got the person who's been through this so many times that he's just done. He just doesn't care. Like, she's trying to come up with ideas to break this cycle, to get out of this, and he's just going, yeah, I tried that, try that. Oh, you're gonna try and kill yourself? Well, I've tried that many times as well.
Well, then there's, like, Roy, the guy who tries to, like, kill him.
And that's the other brilliant thing that they threw in there. Roy, the guy who was hunting him down, the guy who was shooting him with bows and arrows, it's revealed, that guy. You're not the first person who I took into the tunnel, which, granted, I didn't try and take you in there, but, back in the early days, which I love that that's how he refers to this, like, back, when this stuff was all starting out, and I wasn't really sure of what was going on, I was trying to, and I was kind of where you are right now, and I was desperate to just figure out something new with this. I met Roy, and he just wanted to party, and then you see the flashback, and they're having a good time, and then there's a moment where they're both just really coked up and drunk, and Roy says, oh, I just want to live this day again and again, and goes, oh. And so he takes him through the tunnel, and now Roy is like, you son of a bitch. I'm going to spend the rest of eternity trying to kill you in order to see if that can break this, or at least just trying to make you suffer for what you did to me. I thought that was a great addition in here as well. And this thing, it has a great 3-act structure to it. It's got the set, listen, your film, it does not have to follow any set of rules when it comes to how you lay out a film, but there is a formula that works, and anytime I see a film that really does embrace that formula and knows how to use it, I always have to kind of sit back and go, oh yeah, all right, not bad. And this one has one of the most clear 3-act structures I've ever seen, because it's got the start where everything's being established, then as soon as she gets into the loop as well, Act 2, and Act 2 is her just trying to come to terms with it, and then slowly the two of them just bonding. Because she goes through the whole period of, oh god, this is horrible, everything sucks, and then she starts to get to know him, and then you start sharing history with each other.
Oh, by the way, you should also point out, when they die, they just wake up again and start all over.
Yeah, exactly, which I will say, this is the one, they say that if you die, you wake up and you start all over again. Groundhog's rules. But also, anytime you go, as soon as you go to sleep, you start all over again. This is the one thing that bugged me with this film. It was the one thing that drove me nuts, is because Andy Samberg kept going, well, I tried everything. I've tried everything. I've done this 1,000 times. Trust me, I've tried everything. Yeah, but you've never tried it with another person, and all you could think was, okay, so if you go to sleep, you start the loop all over again, but what happens if one of you goes to sleep? The other one is still alive in this time. What happens then if after they go to sleep, you then wake them up? I had that question throughout this entire thing, and they never addressed it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's if someone falls asleep, if one of so you have two people in a time loop. If one of them falls asleep or dies, but the other one is still awake and alive, what happens to the person who's asleep and do they just poof disappear?
No. I think because we saw when one of them died and the other one was still alive, they were still they didn't instantly reset then. The other one was still alive then in that moment. So it's kind of clear to me that you just kind of continue down this line until you have to reset, until you just continue down this line until you yourself personally reset, then you go back to the start of that day. But it did make me wonder, okay, so can you then what happens if one of you falls asleep? Can the other one then wake them up and pull them back out of it? That was the one thing that I kept asking throughout this entire thing. That, and what was the deal with the dinosaurs?
Yeah.
That is my one, the thing that I just brought up is okay, it doesn't really matter because it's not the point of this. It's just one of those things that I was okay, I want to see, you're experimenting with so many things in here, I would like to see you experiment with that because this is a unique take on the whole Groundhog's Day formula. But the one that is a legitimate, hold up, I'm sorry, what was that? is there comes a moment in here, which this isn't a spoiler.
No.
This is not a spoiler.
Because it doesn't really have anything to do with the movie.
It doesn't amount to anything. It doesn't amount to anything. There's a moment in which the two of them are like bonding and they're getting closer, which this is a romantic comedy is what it is. Because you've got this one woman who she doesn't believe in marriage. She doesn't believe in any of this stuff. She thinks that love is a lie. She thinks it's all just bullcrap. And then you've got Andy Samberg, who has been alive for thousands and thousands of years at this point.
Maybe, or days.
Maybe, yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows, yeah. He's been alive for at least decades. We know that much at least. And he has gotten to that point in which he has said, yeah, listen, you can't escape this. You can't stop it. The only way to survive and not go nuts is just become numb to everything. So the two of them kind of slowly learn to love each other.
Yes.
And they come together. And it's actually really charming.
They bond over not giving a fuck anymore.
They bond over just like the weird situation that they're in. But there's a moment in which they're getting really close. And then all of a sudden Andy Samberg looks up and goes, oh, well, that's new. And then the camera turns around and you see there are brontosauruses.
Or
brachiosauruses, yeah, because brontosauruses aren't real. But brachiosauruses, I gotta remember that, because when I was a kid, if you had a long neck, you were a brontosaurus. And then they eventually went, yeah, that's not an actual thing. That was actually like 9 different dinosaurs that we put together in the wrong order, so that doesn't exist. But yeah, one of those long neck dinosaurs. And you see it just walking across the mountains, across the desert. And they're looking there, it's like, you see that too? Yeah. And it was like, okay, so now we're getting into some stuff here.
Yeah.
Because now, okay, it's a time loop. Maybe you've gone through this so many times, you're breaking time itself. Who knows what's happening? That never comes back up.
Like, I felt like maybe the dinosaurs fell into the time loop also
But then they would be back in prehistoric times. They would never even gotten to this point. And it's like, why are you seeing them? Can other people see them?
Yeah, and if there are dinosaurs, why aren't there, like, other ancient, like, things going on? Like,
other stuff, yeah. It's one of those things.
Mammoths or, like, cavemen or...
Here's the thing. It's not that never comes back up. They don't even mention it, like, the next morning. They don't even, like, the next morning go, like, yeah, so dinosaurs, huh? Never saw that before. Why are we seeing that now? Could we have maybe destroyed time itself? What's going on? Never comes back up.
No, except...
Like, at all. Except
at the very end, where, like, everything's resolved.
As soon as the credits start rolling, you see the dinosaurs again. I was like, no. Don't remember that now.
No.
Don't remember that was a plot point now. That was my one complaint with this film. I really dislike that.
I feel like this was, like, this felt like very much like an indie movie, and they just, like... And they just, like, shoved dinosaurs in there because indie movie.
Because, yeah. Kind of. I mean, again, you didn't see Brigsby Bear. I saw Brigsby Bear. These are some... Don't look at this and just go, oh, Andy Samberg is that guy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Saturday Night Live and all his Adam Sandler films. No. Andy Samberg and his pals over at Lonely Island, they are some indie people. They are indie people. So I was like, yeah, it might have just been like, yeah, indie films, dinosaurs, yeah, done. We say that like that makes absolute sense, but it's like, no, if you've seen enough weird, quirky indie films, you'll know they will throw in just a weird, quirky thing for no reason. It's like, no, but indie film, right? No, it has to make sense. Yeah, so that's my one legitimate complaint with this film. But aside from that, I don't really have any other complaints with this film. I think that this thing is a genius idea, and I think that these characters are great as you get to know them. And I really have to sneeze. Oh, and bite that back. Allergies going nuts, everybody. Oh, sorry folks, but allergies wait for no man. So yeah, I think this film, it's a brilliant idea. I think it's incredibly well acted. I think that it balances everything that's going for incredibly well because, you think of the progression of Groundhog's Day, of how, you go from what's going on to, okay, I'm starting to learn everything, and then, you get to that point where you just don't care anymore, and then you get to that point where you're just becoming desperate. I think that because of how this film has that twist of it's 2 people in here, and one of them has done this 1,000 times all over, it does make it original, because in this film, they get to that point where they're just like, screw it, let's just have fun with this, because there's no point to not having fun with it, and that's great seeing the 2 of them actually start to bond over, like, yeah, there's no consequences to anything, let's just go out there and do whatever we want. It's really charming and very different. So I did really appreciate that. But also, I gotta say, I think that this film takes on, like, if this film had come out last year, I still would have liked it. I absolutely would have liked it. I would not have liked it as much as I did coming out this year, and not just because there are no other movies out there, so my options are limited. No, I really think that this is the 2020 film. Because you mentioned this a moment ago, I was like, no, we're gonna get to that. But they were like, yeah, every day is exactly the same. You just live this exact same life over and over and over again, and you can't escape, and everything's terrible, and the only way to get through is just become numb to everything. I was like, oh my God, this is the quarantine film. This is the film about, every day just blends into each other, and you're just trapped inside, and like that's all you can do, and just like there's so many things going on that like you can't control. So maybe you're just kind of becoming numb to so many things. It's like, holy crap! Oh, Peach, you got sneezies too.
Oh,
Peach?
you got allergies.
You got allergies as well, buddy.
No.
Oh, okay. You all good, buddy?
Oh.
No. All right. Okay. I need a tissue as well.
You'll eat the tissue.
You will. Alright, I normally don't like to focus on Peach too much while we're doing these, but we had like an infestation of flies in our apartment. I don't know where they came from, but like 5 or 6 flies disappeared in our apartment. So I kept trying to smash them with Kleenexes. And now whenever I reach for a Kleenex, Peach starts freaking out. And she will try and get her hands on the Kleenex and destroy it. Because to her, now me grabbing a Kleenex just means you're about to start smacking the wall, and that's not good. Give me that Kleenex. I'll destroy it. We have found her destroying like multiple Kleenexes that she's managed to get her hands on, like ones that just fall down when I pick up one and just falls to the ground. She'll run up and like, get that. It's adorable, but it's also like, oh, buddy, you're just making a mess, and I understand you don't understand what I'm doing. Anyway, we're in quarantine, so we have to find our entertainment where we can, and it's Peach destroying Kleenexes right now. But yeah, that's kind of what this movie is. Like, if this film had come out in any other year, it would not have had that extra layer to it. But it absolutely has that extra layer to it because of what's been going on in the world. Just a film about like every day is the same and you can't escape. It's like, yeah, all right. Damn. You kind of called it movie. And as far as the resolution of this thing goes, I'm not going to say, like what the resolution is, but I will say, like, moving into the third act, when they decide, okay, that's enough of this, we need to get proactive with this thing. At first, it seemed too simple to me that this is what the solution was, but the more I thought about it, the more I went, no, that's actually, yeah, absolutely, that is the smart approach to this. Literally. It's the smart approach to this. I won't go into any details on it, but basically, listen, this is some weird phenomena that's happening. And eventually they just kind of like get that idea of, we've got an unlimited amount of time. What if we study this? We've got infinite time to study this thing. It's like, okay, yeah, that actually seems like every other film that has been about this premise of repeating the same day over and over and over again probably should have done that. It seems like before you got to the screw it, it's all pointless, I'm just going to start killing myself over and over and over again. It feels like you would have gotten to that phase first of like, okay, what if I try and do something about this? It's like, okay, all right.
But then there's like the fear of going back to
yeah, like what? Oh man, yeah, we didn't even talk about that. That fear of like what happens when you leave, like when you have lived decades in this pattern, it does become weird, the idea of like having to now leave it. This thing that at one point in time was a curse, now it's all you know. There is, again, this is one of the great things about having one character who is new to this whole thing and one character who this is just their life now and they're just used to this thing, is that you get to see how that other character feels in regards to all this, and about how this character has changed over time. And there's this one moment that I love where she goes like, okay, well, what do you do for a living? And then he just stops and is, I don't remember. And it's so wild to just think like, oh yeah, this guy lived for so many years. It'd be like if you asked me like, hey, what were you doing 20 years ago? I don't know what I was doing all those years ago. I don't know. I mean, I guess I could do the math on and figure out, but like this guy can't even really do the math on because he doesn't even know how many years he's been here.
He doesn't know how much time has passed.
Exactly. So yeah, I love that moment in there because that's one of those things that you don't think about is that eventually, yeah, you will forget some of the stuff that you have lived through when you've lived, 10, 20, 30, 100 years in this one day over and over and over again. And there's a lot of stuff that they do that's great with coming in here and reminding you of where Sandberg's character fits in.
I think his name is Miles.
Miles? I'm gonna keep calling him Sandberg.
Okay.
Because I'm not even sure. Niles. That was it.
Right.
Not Miles. Niles. That was it.
Yeah, no, the girl's name was Sarah, I think. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is Niles. It is because it just came back to me. The scene that I'm about to talk about is like there was a moment way into the third act. Like, when this entire movie is like 80, 90% done, and you've seen Niles interacting with so many characters over and over and over again, there's a moment where he wakes up one morning, walks out, and he's asking like, hey, what's the deal with this thing? What's going on with this thing? And everybody's looking at him confused and goes, Niles, I'm Jane's boyfriend. It's like, oh yeah, Jane's boyfriend. Okay, it's like, and it's just one of those great things that again reminds you of like, how terrible this is for him, because this isn't even a wedding of someone he knows.
No, it's
a wedding
that his girlfriend knows.
Yes.
Who's cheating on him.
Yeah, and he finds out apparently at this wedding that she is cheating on him, but he doesn't care because he found this out 40 freaking years ago to him, and every single day he has discovered that she is cheating on him, and he doesn't even care at this point. He doesn't love her. He doesn't like her anymore. So now every day he has to wake up with this woman who he knows is cheating on him, and he doesn't care about that anymore. And you go out there to this wedding for these people who he doesn't know anything about them. And yeah, I love that moment in there where they come in and they remind the audience they don't even know who this guy is. Every day he has to wake up and be surrounded by strangers. Yeah, I think that this film, it's amazing how it balances so many different things in here. And like we said, it's not like this is one of those things that's been done a lot, but there are a lot of people out there who have tried to reproduce the Groundhog's Day formula, and it's one of those things that's like, yeah, it kind of only works once on its own. You gotta come with something different if you're going to keep redoing it. And I've seen people try and do like, well, it's Christmas over and over again.
It's like, gee, I wish it was Christmas every day, and then just poof.
Yeah, like those kind of things. I've seen a lot of holiday films that try and do that. But this one, the whole it's two people and one of them's been there forever, I think that's great. That is absolutely a brilliant twist on this thing. So yeah, I'm gonna give it like a 9 out of 10. Like if this was any other year, I'd be giving it an 8 out of 10, but let's be real. There aren't a lot of films to choose this year in terms of like what's gonna be your best of the year. If you're like, I feel like I have to judge this kind of against the other films that came out this year, and doing that is like, yeah, normally this would be an 8 out of 10 for me, maybe even an 8.5, but nah, I'm gonna go 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd probably like give it like an 8. Like, yeah, like a good solid B. I mean, it's like, it was a charming movie, but it's like, I didn't really like feel that emotional about it.
Yeah, understandable.
Like I said, it's like a very your standard indie movie.
Yeah.
But that's not a bad thing. It's like, it's not like we hate indie movies. It's
But no, it definitely, like, it's to that point where, like, when all these types of films have a specific tone to them, you kind of get used to that tone, and it's like, okay, you gotta not just spice up the premise, but, like, you gotta spice up how this movie feels in order to hit me. And I can understand that because, yeah, it does feel like your standard indie film, even if the premise is very different. I don't have a problem with that, but believe me, I understand how that could be a problem for some people. Yeah, like, so yeah, it didn't really do that much for me, but I still thought it was, like, nice and charming. It has, like, a good moral about, like, about, like, how life is meaningful if you have someone to share it with. Yeah. So, yeah, good solid B for me. Yeah, absolutely. All right, now it's time for the spoiler talk, and I had another sneezing fit that was perfectly timed for that divide. So it's time for the spoiler talk, and I don't really feel like there's that much to talk about in the spoiler talk, except for Roy. Roy is the one guy who I'm like, okay, I don't think people see where it's going to go with that. Because, like, when we talk about, like, resolution and everything, there's not really much to talk about with that. I mean, it's like, again, I do think it's kind of brilliant that she just goes, all right, screw this. This is some kind of a scientific thing. It's not magic.
Yeah, it's a scientific phenomenon. She said so.
I'm going to sit down and study this thing. And she just goes out every single morning. She wakes up and goes out to this cafe that has free Wi-Fi and just sits down. And every day she just starts learning a little bit more
about quantum physics.
Yeah. And I love it because, again, you talk about how this film, it's the Groundhog's Day formula. This film does some great stuff to play around with our expectations for the Groundhog's Day formula. I love that literally, like, the first or second thing she goes to is, maybe this is a karmic thing. Maybe it's karma. Maybe so many other people are doing good things here. We now have... Sorry. Oh, man, everything is coming at me. Why do people even watch this? They're disgusting. Oh, man. You know what? Fuck it. I'm leaving that in. I am leaving that in. That's making the best of the year clips. So, my apologies, everyone. So, I love that, like, one of her first instincts is to do what Bill Murray does at the end of Groundhog's Day, where he just tries and makes life better for everyone, and that's what breaks the loop. I love this idea that she comes in here, and that's like her first or second guess, and then she goes up to her sister and whispers something in her ear, and then walks away, and you can tell that that had a huge impact on her sister, and it was this big, emotional, wonderful thing. And then she wakes up the next morning, and it didn't fix anything. It's like, yeah, no, that wouldn't change anything.
No.
This isn't magic. This isn't like God just going, you need to be a better person.
No, like, you literally, like, have this thing inside a cave. Is like, obviously it has something to do with that.
Obviously it is a thing, and maybe we should study the thing. Also, speaking of how, I wonder if this was on purpose. I actually wonder if this was on purpose. We talk about how, like, you know, Groundhog's Day was the Bill Murray film. I wonder if the whole thing of, like, the good thing she has to do, she goes up and she whispers something in her sister's ear and we never find out what that was. I'm wondering if that was a reference to Bill Murray's Lost in Translation, because that film has kind of a famous ending where Scarlett Johansson whispers something in his ear and we never find out what she whispered in his ear. I'm wondering if that was also like, hey man, we're referencing one Bill Murray thing, we're going to reference another Bill Murray thing here. I'm wondering if that was on purpose. I actually wonder if that was on purpose. But what was I going to say? Oh yeah, but the one thing that I actually think is like a really good spoilery thing is they're talking about how, like, the first time that she tries to kill both of them to hope that that breaks the cycle, he just puts his head right up against the dashboard of the car and he goes, yeah, this way I'll die quicker, because, believe me, pain is real and there's nothing worse than slowly dying in the ICU. And he's constantly being hunted down by this guy, Roy. And then one day, she ends up smacking into Roy with her car. And then you see that he's down on the ground, he's like bleeding out, and then the cops come up, and then Roy never appears again. And one moment when Niles gets to his lowest, he goes and he finds Roy, and Roy brings him into the house, and he's like, shut up, my neighbor's gonna see, my family's gonna see. And then they're out there in the backyard, and they're just watching his kids, and he's just like, you know what, my life's not so bad. Like, why aren't you trying to kill me anymore? It's like, well, when your little friend over there did a number on me and sent me to the hospital, they wouldn't let me go to sleep because they were afraid I'd go into a coma. So I was awake and just suffering nonstop. And oh man, that made me realize something. That made me realize that there's things worse than just being stuck like this. And it made me realize what I've been doing to you for all these years. So you know what? You did some terrible things to me. I'm never gonna get to see my daughter grow up, but you know what? Just gotta embrace my life where I am. Because when Niles first meets this guy, he comes up to him at the party and just goes, yeah, marriage is an endless black void of suffering. And now you see him there, it's like, yeah, you know what, screw all that noise. You know what, there's actual good things about my life, and I like all this, and it's fine. I mean, it sucks that I will never get to see my kids grow up, but you know what? This is a pretty good day, so if I have to live this one day over and over again, I can make that work. And I love that turnaround for his character. I think that it has the perfect reason for happening because, yeah, you talk about how Niles is, he's talking about how he's tried killing himself over and over again. And he said the pain is real and that there's nothing worse than dying slowly in the ICU. But when you see this moment, it kind of hits you. Oh, yeah, Roy has probably never died. Roy has probably never tried to kill himself because in his head, it was always, I gotta kill him. I have to make him suffer. He's the one that started this. I have to kill him. He's never really suffered like that. So when it finally happens to him, he goes, oh, man, we're not doing that again. Yeah, I think that was a great
like, also, like, Roy does have a family. So, like, he might be stuck in a loop, but at least he's able to like be with people he cares about.
Yeah.
And like, Niles didn't really have anybody. Not until like Sarah came along. So like it took him a while to understand like it's the people you're with that make things meaningful.
Exactly. Yes, that's how you get through life. So yeah, I thought what they did with this character was great, and I like that at the end of this thing. It gives like some hope for Roy. Like it also kind of answers the question that I had, is that there's like a little mid-credit scene. Because in my mind I was like, okay, so at the end of this they break the cycle. So does that break Roy out of there as well? But no, at the end of this, Roy comes up to Niles at the wedding and goes, hey, we got a phone call from your girlfriend this morning. Do you think it's real? Do you think you can actually break the cycle? And I was like, I'm sorry, do I know you? And you just see like his eyes light up like, oh my God, it can happen. So it's like, even if he didn't get out of the cycle, she told him how to do it, so he can now do it. So yeah, I love that. I thought that was great.
Like, should we tell everyone how they got out of the cycle? Or?
It's not important. Listen, it's on Hulu, so I mean, go and check that out. If you ever find yourself stuck in infinite time loop, you can sign up for a free Hulu subscription for 2 weeks because that day will never come if you're in a time loop. So yeah, just watch the movie then and you'll figure it out. But yeah, there's a lot of smart things in here too. Like I love that Roy's #1 weapon of choice is bows and arrows. I think you see him once with a gun, and it was a gun from a cop car. But it kind of hit me as time went on. I was like, why wouldn't he just use a gun? And I was like, oh, because you have to like wait a certain number of days to buy a gun. But like he stole this cop car at one point, and that's clearly how he got the gun from there. But it's like, I love it. Like that's a small thing that when you actually stop and think about it, I was like, oh yeah, he wouldn't be able to get a gun unless he like stole it from someone. So bow and arrow, that's why he would be able to get easily on that day. You go to a sporting goods shop and get one. But yeah, so that's it, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in. We both really enjoyed it. Go check it out. I have no idea what the next movie is that's coming out. I know they're saying that movies are going to return in August. They're not going to return in August. And even if they do, I'm not going to see them. Yeah, I'm not risking my life for New Mutants.
We'll just watch them on streaming services and stuff.
We'll be back to talk about some on-demand movie. Maybe we'll try and record the Old Guard review again because that review got completely destroyed. Maybe we'll just pick a random anime. I don't know. But we'll figure something out.
It's like we should have like a wheel.
Oh, I like that. I like that idea.
And whatever it lands on, we review it.
You know what? I'm not doing anything. I could build a giant spinning wheel. I got time. Sorry, everybody. Come back later. Bye, everybody.
Bye.